Welcome to Automation Airwaves. This is Scott Teeple coming to you live from SSOW week here in Orlando. Really excited to be here interviewing some of our favorite clients, customers, and partners to understand kind of where they are in their overall journey so we can share with you kind of where they are and where we're headed. What are we seeing within our customer base on the overall initiatives that they're having for FY19?
So overall, I'm seeing companies that are trying to take their digital workforce, their robots, their RPA bots, whatever you want to call it, and start to establish a footprint that can really be scaled. So many companies have taken their chosen a technology or might be transitioning a technology, but are fairly in place with that, but don't necessarily have the change management in place, the human elements in place, the communication between application owners, process owners, IT in place to get them to 20, 50, hundreds of thousands of robots. So scaling that up is probably part number one. Part number two is bringing RPA out of the back office, out of finance and HR and some IT work, where you find tons of use cases out there across the web, and moving it more into the operational sides of their business, into pharmaceutical development, into the supply chain, into the actual manufacturing floors. And the third is creating, establishing more intelligent robots that are out there. So that doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to see tons of companies that are diving straight into this amalgamation that we call AI today.
Or whatever that is.
Yeah. As soon as it's real, as soon as there's an actual use case, we don't call it AI anymore. It's called now BPM or chatbot or OCR.
It's cognitive.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So you've never seen a use case that's actually AI. But being able to enable more intelligent digital workers, we're seeing a lot of people get into the Blue Prism Digital Exchange, for example, download skill sets to be able to connect their various different complementary technologies with the tool sets and be able to form that vision for really execution probably in 2020 or later this year, but getting that in place. Whereas rules-driven repetitive things were most of the focus that we've seen over the last couple of years.
Now that focus was around initially, ROI. Where are you seeing others really taking focus when they're really trying to mature or scale out their automation program?
So I think when a lot of companies think about RPA to begin with, they think of ROI in FTE reduction terms, or we might be a little bit nicer and call it, man hours returned back to the business or something like that. But it's always starts with a number like that. Now there's a lot of metrics around what are the other things we should start to be putting into our scope within RPA, but one of the biggest ones that actually has numbers associated with it is risk mitigation. If you can avoid fraudulent claims, if you can avoid fines by misfilings, if you can increase your spot check rate and not just look at 5% sample size of files that are going through, but 100%, not just checking 3 fields on a document, but checking 20 fields, because now you have the capacity of these digital workers that can scale. That's huge numbers for businesses. That actually does have a big quantity, a quantifiable number to it, but it's not necessarily quantifiable in advance. It's quantifiable at the end of the year when you look at what fines you had this year versus last year, type of thing. So we're seeing that. Things that are a little bit fuzzier, but big win areas are on the customer experience side of things. I put it in lines of real-time communication that you can start to get out of companies, between your company and your customers. Think about it from the terms of taxis versus Uber. You'd call a taxi cab company up and they tell you, hey, we'll have the cab there in 15 minutes. Well, when the cab's not there in 15 minutes, you're calling up that cab company again. Now I'm a bit more frustrated that the cab hasn't arrived. Where are they? What's going on? Uber solved that by giving you real-time information at hand to say, you know what? The cab's still going to be late, but I can see what red light that they're stuck at. I can see where they're going. I don't need to call back and have as many people on the contact center side of things answering those calls with that frustrated customer. And robots are able to aggregate information and present that much more frequently out to customers. And then finally, the employee experience is a huge aspect of things. I watched a great video the other day that was talking about in an industry that you guys are highly familiar with in healthcare. But this rate of doctor burnout, as they were calling it, or battle fatigue. We've had doctors that invested their entire their 20s with heads down in keyboards and, depending on the age, in books. God forbid we had paper. But they invested their 20s to learn how to give the best possible care out to their patients and how to interact with people. But instead, we've generated this healthcare system where instead of talking to the patient, their backs to the patient, their heads down in this ATM machine of Epic or Cerner. And so we're looking at how do we get robots to take care of that work? How do we get digital assistants to take care of that work so that the humans can start to interact with our work?
That is awesome, and I really appreciate your time.
Not a problem.